All right, let's talk about logic. And I promise this isn't going to be some dry, dusty lecture. We're going to treat logic as what it really is, an essential tool, like a compass, to help you navigate all the noise out there in the modern world. So let me ask you something straight up. With this constant explosion of information, it's coming at you 24/7. Are you really thinking for yourself? It's a tough question, right? And it taps into a very real anxiety that a lot of us feel. Because let's face it, our information world is just chaotic. Think about your day. You're just getting hit with this fire hose of fragmented information. A headline here, a tweet there, a notification that pops up. It's all just these tiny disconnected pieces, and there's never really a chance to see the full picture. And then what happens? You try to talk about it, right? But whether it's online or even with friends, the conversation just spirals into these heated, emotional arguments. It stops being about figuring things out and becomes all about who can score the most points. Sound familiar? And while all this is happening, you've got these algorithms working silently in the background. They're basically building these little information cocoons, these filter bubbles, all around us. They just keep feeding you more and more of what you already agree with, making it harder and harder to even see a different point of view. So you put all that together, the fragmented info, the angry arguments, the filter bubbles, and what's the result? Well, it's this feeling of being totally lost, like you're adrift in this huge, confusing ocean of information. It really is a kind of sickness in our modern discourse, and it's leaving a lot of us feeling stranded. Okay, so if we're going to find a cure for this sickness, we can't just treat the symptoms. We have to go deeper and diagnose the root cause of all this confusion. The real problem isn't just the noisy storm on the surface of the ocean, it's the foundation of our thinking itself that's shaky. Here's a really great way to think about it, an analogy from our source material. Imagine your entire belief system, everything you hold to be true, is this magnificent, beautiful building. The thing is, that whole massive structure is sitting on a foundation buried deep underground, a foundation you've probably never, ever inspected. And that foundation? That's what we call unexamined assumptions. These are the ideas we just accept as true without even thinking about it. The stuff that's just common sense or obvious. We just absorb them. But here's the kicker. These are the hidden cracks, the weak spots in our entire way of thinking. So if these unexamined assumptions are the virus infecting our thinking, what's the cure? Well, the prescription is logic. But hold on, don't tune out. We're not talking about some boring class you had to take. I want you to reframe logic as something totally different, a vaccine for your thoughts, a way to build up your intellectual immunity. So, how does this thought vaccine actually work? Well, it's a pretty straightforward three-step process. Step 1 is to question. Don't just blindly accept what's handed to you. Step 2 is to critique. You got to look at the argument itself and ask, how is this thing actually put together? And finally, step 3, and this is the big one, you have to interrogate. You have to dig down and scrutinize those hidden assumptions that the whole argument is resting on. And when you do this, when you build up that immunity, the payoff is huge. Seriously, it's your best defense against rigid, black and white thinking. It helps you spot when you're being manipulated or brainwashed. It's what lets you become a truly independent thinker, not just someone who parrots what authority figures say. And on a bigger scale, it's what keeps a whole society from getting intellectually lazy and stagnant. All right, so we've talked about what this thought vaccine is for. Now, let's pop the hood and see how it actually works. Let's open up the toolbox of logic and check out the main tools inside. And this is maybe the most important thing to get. Logic is not a dusty old book full of facts you have to memorize. No way. It's an active tool. Think of it like a surgeon's scalpel. Its job is to make a clean, precise cut into an argument, to dissect it and to see how it's really built, to see what's strong, what's weak, and what's just plain broken. Okay, now here's a really crucial distinction you need to understand. Logic makes a clean break between where an idea comes from and whether that idea is actually worth believing. See, an idea can pop into your head in the shower or come to you in a dream. That's called the context of discovery. It can be messy and weird, and honestly, logic doesn't care about that part at all. Logic lives in what's called the context of justification. It just shows up and asks one simple, powerful question. Okay, cool idea. Now, can you give me a solid, structured reason to believe it? Let's put it this way to make it super clear. A scientist runs experiments to see what's provable in the real world. A psychologist might study how your brain came up with a belief. But the logician? They have a totally different job. They look right at the argument and basically say, I don't care how you came up with this. Is the belief itself rationally justified? Does it hold up? So we've got our tools, we understand how they work. Now for the fun part. Let's put them to use. Let's talk about going on the defense. How do we actually build a rational barrier to protect ourselves from that constant flood of misinformation and just plain bad arguments? Step 1 is learning to spot the most common mental traps. You might have heard of them as informal fallacies. And trust me, once you know what to look for, you see them everywhere. The classic one is the ad hominem attack, right? That's when you attack the person making the argument instead of the argument itself. Or what about jumping to massive conclusions based on like one tiny piece of data? Or a big one, just letting our emotions completely run over the actual proof. These are the traps. And here's the so what. Why does spotting these traps even matter? Well, it's not about being a jerk and pointing out people's mistakes to win an argument. It's about something way bigger. It's about raising the quality of the entire conversation. It's how we stop the pointless shouting and start moving toward what our source calls a higher quality consensus. You know, a shared understanding that's actually built on solid ground. So when you put it all together, this idea of a thought vaccine, the surgeon's scalpel, this rational barrier, it all points to one big, powerful metaphor. And that's logic as your own personal compass, a tool to help you navigate your way to true intellectual freedom. And this idea, this compass, really brings everything we've talked about full circle. Remember that chaotic information ocean we started in? Logic is your compass and your map in that ocean. Without it, you're just drifting. You get pushed around by whatever the latest current of outrage or popular opinion is. But with it, you get to chart your own course. But let's be super clear about one thing. A compass doesn't tell you where to go. It's not going to give you all the answers or tell you what to believe. All it does is tell you where you are right now and which way you're pointed. It gives you the power to choose your own path and to know why you're choosing it. That, right there, is what real intellectual freedom looks like. So, to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with a challenge, a call to action. Think about that magnificent building of your own beliefs. After all this, what's the very first unexamined assumption? That one thing buried deep in your foundation that you're now ready to pull out into the daylight and really, truly interrogate.